What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks in Gear, and we are back with another legit check guide on the Travis Scott Jordan 1 highs. And as I mentioned in the last video I did, this is the replica industry's most repped Air Jordan 1. If anybody who's ever bought a replica has a replica, they have this. It's the standard for all rep shoes starting in 2019. I've been paying attention to how this whole thing has developed from 2019 up until now. It's been a super bumpy ride, but we have settled on a general kind of rep here that is worth legit checking, in my opinion. It's worth having these guides out because these will more than likely never ever restock. So as I alluded to in the last sentence that I just blurted out, this is the authentic pair right here, and this right here is the rep pair. And remember, I never leave you guys without resources. You guys can see all the pictures you need of these shoes on the Instagram account right here. It's important that you guys see the details and all that good stuff so you have reference material and you don't need my video up to be able to do your research. So with all that said, let's get into the nitty gritty. And we're going to start with a quick look at the boxes. Travis Scott 1 Jordan boxes are usually pretty easy to identify, obviously because them and the lows are the only ones with this brown and red box. The difference between the rep and the authentic pair is that the authentic box is a lighter chocolatier brown, while the rep box on here is a darker brown. You guys should be able to see this side by side on the camera. The colors do differ. And then from there, the easiest way to tell the difference between a replica box and a authentic box is to go and look at the authentic tag, look at the most minuscule, smallest text that you can find. Usually for these, it's the color code, and compare it to another box, another Jordan that you have from the same time period with the same tag. And you'll be able to see that generally on the smallest, thinnest texts, reps tend to do it bolder. You guys can kind of see between the Sail Black Dark Mocha, it's bolder, it's thicker text on the rep box. The only other noteworthy thing worth comparing in the boxes is the tissue paper, and for this the tissue paper is identical. The only thing that's different is the major color change between the authentic and the rep. The authentic is a pale pink paper, while the rep is a darker pink paper. This is the standard you'll see on most reps. I don't think I see any reps using this paper. I believe this is the paper that came with the retail reverse mochas, and reps have just been using this across the board, so pay attention for that. Now that the boxes are done and the accessories are done, let's look at the shoes. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the best legit checking tip that I can give you when it comes to the Travis Scott Jordan 1s is find somehow, whether it's at a consignment shop or a sneaker convention, or you have a buddy that is a big legit sneaker collector, get your hands on a pair and feel it. That is the best legit checking tip that I can give you, because once you get your hands on an authentic pair and you feel it, and you feel the nubuck, and you feel the way the leather feels, you will be able to legit check any Travis Scott high just on feel alone. And what I mean by that is this: these shoes, this shoe in particular, and to a slightly less degree the lows, these have a nubuck that I have never seen or ever felt on any other Jordan 1. I'm not saying it's like luxury level, designer level materials, but it's the softest nubuck that I've ever felt on a Jordan 1. The nubuck that they use on this is special. It feels a certain way, but it also looks a certain way. If you spend any time on any kind of forum or whatever, Reddit, they always talk about the motion and the waves that go into the suede when you touch it. Yes, that is 100% true, but It's that way because the nubuck is plush. The hair texture is a little bit long, but it's not super long and grainy. That's what makes this feel and look the same way. Reps over the years have, in my opinion, completely given up on trying to match the feel and have completely focused on just trying to match the look, trying to get that wavy, ashy kind of chocolatey look, and they have done that, and you can see that here. You can see when you rub your finger across it, you see that the nubuck is transitionary. You can see that it looks ashy, it looks textured and everything like that. But when you put them side by side, obviously you'll see a color difference, but the color difference is because they're not the same material. This is a nice quality nubuck. It's just not the high quality nubuck that the Travis Scott ones actually use. I'm not saying that there aren't authentic pairs that can't look like this, but those authentic pairs are probably worn, probably been cleaned, a little bit washed out, but the looks are there for the most part outside of being a little bit lighter. It's just the feel. They don't feel like the authentic pair. A lot of people, especially in the replica scene, will get on YouTube without an authentic pair to reference, and they'll say, oh yeah, this nubuck is perfect, it's just like retail, it's nice, yada yada yada. It's not. There hasn't been a rep Travis Scott one high with nubuck even remotely close to the authentic pair since probably 2019, early 2020. And those pairs, even though the nubuck was a lot closer, had all tons of other issues. Since then, the shoe itself has improved, the shape has improved, the appearance has improved. The materials aren't the same though. So that's something that probably not going to matter to most people who are just looking for this for the look, but for the people that are legit checking, super easy way, in my opinion, to tell. Just get your hands on this and you'll know. And you can see that the leather's different just by how the nubuck frays on the raw edges. You can take a look here. You can see it. It's just the difference in the nubuck. But with all that said, you know, nubuck is important, obviously, and this gets the look, which might be enough for some people, and it might even fool some people. But if you know how these feel and you know what they're supposed to look like, you will not have any problem legit checking these. But while we're on this back view, you can see the Cactus Jack stamps are more or less the same. Where you're going to start noticing differences is in the color, and you can see that color difference right here in the sole. Obviously the authentic pair is a lighter sole than the rep, and the rep is a darker sole. A better view for that is like this, and you can see that while the soles are different colors, the midsole and the outsole, the leather almost identical. Almost. It's a little bit thinner and a little bit stiffer on the rep, while the authentic pair uses thick leather cuts. The look is definitely there, but another thing that if you know what the authentic pair is supposed to feel like, you should be able to point these out pretty easily. You can notice that the sole is also a slightly different color as well. There's almost like a reddish tint to the rep sole compared to the authentic. From there, we'll take a look at the reverse swoosh positioning. Usually, personally, I don't pay too much attention to how sunken this reverse swoosh is. I know some people do, but I know this varies. Obviously, there's a wrong way for it to look, but most reps don't get it wrong. I pay more attention to where the Nike swoosh ends. It's really weird how and when Nike decides to be consistent, but usually you like to see this Nike swoosh end pointing at the bottom shoelace hole, and you can see it on my other shoe as well. On the reps, they do that, but I've seen some reps get it completely wrong. I've seen the Nike swoosh completely overshoot. Another sign to pay attention to, you want to see that this Wings logo is a super high gloss. You'll see a lot of contrast between the matte kind of material of the ankle cut and the high gloss Wings logo. There are reps that have it matte or semi-gloss. This rep tends to have it super glossy, not as glossy as the authentic pair, but still very glossy. That's good, that's what you want to see. Be careful, pay attention to the ones that don't have that. Another thing that is sort of a kind of hidden, not so noticeable characteristic on these shoes is all Travis Scott 1 lows have this Cactus Jack reflective 3M kind of text going down the side. And because of the tumbling on the authentic pair, it is actually really hard to see it without the light playing into it and actually activating the reflectiveness. You can probably barely see it on the authentic pair here. Reps for a couple of reasons, because the text that they use on this is actually bolder and thicker than what they use on the authentic pair, and the leather tends to be a little bit more of a sail color than a white color of the authentic pair. This Cactus Jack tends to stand out a lot more, so you can probably see it on camera in a way that you might not be able to see the authentic pair. So pay attention to that. Usually if it's super obvious and apparent, it's probably a rep, but you also want to pay attention to the positioning. I like to see a C in between the stitching here, usually touching this bottom of the double stitch. It's really hard to see on my authentic pair, but it is there, it is touching. And on the other shoe, just for reference, if you guys can actually see it, there's the C. And that from there, that's pretty much it. We have the stash pocket, soft, silky feel. The stash pocket on the rep is usually made out of the same material, but feels a little bit stiffer and harder, but they look the same. One thing to notice is that the Nike Air tag, it can definitely vary in size on retail pairs, but the rep is a super bright white on the back of this compared to the off-white sail kind of color of the authentic pair. And you got a lot of what looks like ink bleed on there, which can happen on authentic pairs, but not to the same extent. And it stands out even more because of the white background when it should be a sail background. And then the Cactus Jack signs look more or less the same, a little bit bigger on the rep with a slightly darker red. This is stuff that's really difficult to tell. So from there, we're gonna do a quick comparison of the laces that come with the shoe, then we'll do a blacklight test, and then that's it. So here are my authentic laces. Obviously my authentic pair is worn, so I take these laces off, but let's start with the brown laces. So this is the brown that comes with the authentic pair, and you compare it to the rep brown. This is something that I've noticed. The rep brown laces for these are generally a little bit darker than what the authentic pair looks like. Very slight. I know it's hard to kind of see because I'm not taking these out of the bag, but they're definitely darker in color. Same thing can be noticed for the red as well. The red on the authentic is definitely more vibrant of a red, while the red on the rep is darker. Same can be noticed for the white laces as well, or I should say the sail laces. The laces for the authentic one are just lighter in color. The reps lean a little bit more into the sail color than the authentic pair does. Ironically, the one shoelaces that I've always consistently find to be identical are the pink ones. They're more or less the same. I haven't really seen any stark color differences in between the authentic and the rep. So, and honestly, it's funny because that's usually the laces that people wear with these. The laces that I wear with mine, the pink laces. So laces are what they are. Really hard to tell unless you are using an authentic pair to compare. Now that we're done with the laces, let's do the blacklight test. So these aren't supposed to be very reactive. The only things that you will see react are the Nike Air tag on the tongue, the inside material, the backing to the side walls of the shoe. You will see the midsole glow a little bit. It's more iridescent than it is like reactive, but you'll see what I mean. And there shouldn't be anything else on the shoe that reacts to the Blacklight. So as I said, you'll see the Nike Air React and the back of the tongue, but also the inside lining of the shoe. And then, like I said about the midsole, it'll glow a little bit, not necessarily reactive, but it glows. You can also see the cactus jack a little bit better. It reflects a little bit, but it's still pretty hard to see. It's very subtle on these pairs. It's more apparent on some of the lows. More paint correction up at the front. So when we look at the when we look at the rep pair, Nike Air, it reacts. Back of the tongue reacts. Side walls do react. Soles do kind of glow, not in the same way that the authentic soles glow, in my opinion. And that's pretty much it for the Blacklight test. I don't really see anything else. So that's the Blacklight test. There's a few other questions that I get when I get these reviews. People ask, will you ever be able to tell a size difference when you are comparing? Generally, no. Jordan 1 reps fit like authentic pairs, so you won't be able to tell the difference that way. There are slight differences in shape that might impact the way shoes fit, but that can happen from shoe to shoe anyway, so that's not something that I would say. People also ask, what about the smell? Is there an obnoxious smell? These do not smell. I have had reps in the past that smell, but these ones specifically don't, so I can't tell the difference based on that. The midsoles are sturdy like the authentic pair, so for this, there's nothing you can really tell based on that. The name of the game here, I said, is, like I said before, the materials. These live and die by the materials, and you'll be able to tell the difference based on that. So with all that said, guys, that's it. I'll leave the information up at the screen so where you can see more pictures of these and you can do more research. With all that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.